January 18th full city council meeting. The clerk will call the roll for attendance.
Anderson Burgos. Bartley.
Here.
Gibner.
Here.
Jourdain.
Here.
Maldonado Velez.
Here.
McGee.
Here.
McGivern.
Here.
Murphy Ramboletti.
Here.
Coelho.
Here.
Israel Rivera.
Here.
Jenny Rivera. Here. Tallman.
Here.
Vacant.
Here.
Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
God bless America.
In the city of Holyoke.
And the city council.
A couple announcements before we get started. One, we will not have anything going on Channel 15 tonight. There's something going on with the service. We're not sure if the line was cut outside when they're doing the construction over there. That was one of the thoughts. So if you're getting texts from people, I know I'm already getting them, there will be no Channel 15 tonight. It is going through the Zoom meeting and online. It's just not going to be on the TV. Also, the interpreters will not be here tonight. I do believe, once again, for COVID protocol. However, this is being recorded, and within 24 hours to 2 days, they will get back to us with the translation. So it won't be going out tonight as well. Pulled the name, or Kevin did. Councilor Coelho will be first in the voting. Before I turn everything over, unfortunately, I have to bring in some sad news for tonight's meeting, and I will ask that we give a moment of silence. We did lose two people from City Hall. First was Beverly Smith from Park and Rec. 23 years of service to the city of Holyoke, unfortunately passed away. And then Anna Velasquez from purchasing, 40 plus years of service to the city of Holyoke. Unfortunately, we lost these two people, and I, my thoughts and prayers go out to their families. But tonight I ask for a moment of silence for everybody. Mm-hmm. Thank you. With that, I will turn the next piece of business over, as I mentioned in the last meeting. So I'll turn it over to Councilor McGivern. Thank you. And also, Councilor Anderson Burgos will not be here tonight. He had surgery today, and although he was really wanting to be here, per doctor's advice, he will not be attending. But he thanks everyone for their kind words, and he says he'll be back real soon. No, I was told none. Really? Yeah.
We are on item number 1.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a motion to go to the first ballot for filling the position of the 3-year term for Water Commissioner.
Item number 1 is the appointment for the 2022 Water Commissioner. This is a 3-year term. Said term will expire in 2026.
Point of order, Mr. President.
Councilor Barley?
I think we got to take it off the table first, right?
Take off the table. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
Just, Mr. President, it does say 26 on our agenda, but it is 25.
Even I think I can do the math a little better, right?
Yes.
And
Councilor Bacon?
As just a point of information, didn't we add the other appointment?
The other appointment is
also
item number 5.
Oh, okay, thank you.
So I think appropriately we should go take one at a time, but go right to item number 5 after this.
Okay.
So what we have is the 3-year term, which is the normal term, which would come up on the first of the year. As we learned at our last meeting, this term begins in February. The water department reorganizes on the first Monday and starts their order of business. So the ballot is a form that we use when we appoint either a commissioner or any of our full-time positions. The ballot is very simple. When your name is called, you state the name of your candidate. In all cases, we need a simple majority, meaning of the full body. We need 7 votes to fill this position. So we will keep going accordingly, if necessary, multiple ballots until an individual receives 7 votes. Everybody doing this for the first time, our administrative assistant gave you a copy of the ballot itself. This is what the city clerk uses. It's a good way if you wish to keep track of what's going on and be able to compare notes if we go into multiple ballots. Is there any discussion or any question? If not, we're going to the ballots. So the clerk is going to call your name, state the name of your candidate.
Puello,
Henry Seidel.
Israel Rivera,
Henry Seidel.
Jenny Rivera,
John Kavanaugh.
Tallman,
Henry Seidel.
Vacant,
Henry Seidel.
Anderson Burgos, Bartley,
Butch Seidel.
Gibner,
Henry Seidel.
Jordan,
Henry Seidel.
Maldonado Velez,
Henry Seidel.
McGee, he's abstained, McGivern,
Butch Seidel.
Murphy Rumboletti.
Henry Seidel.
Henry Seidel appointed to Water Commissioner on the first ballot.
Thank you. Mr. Seidel has been appointed to fill that three-year term. Councilor Jennings?
One thing I wanted to see if the board was amenable to is if they would allow him to serve so fill out the remainder of what would have been my old term. So that is between now and I think the first week of February. Do we need to have a separate vote on that? But I was thinking whoever won the 3-year term, they would be able to start now, or they could wait. Or the person could have to wait the 2 or 3 weeks. But technically, he won't be able to serve until the first week in
I'll make a
February.
motion that we effectuate the appointment of Butch Seidel effective immediately,
Second.
or upon being sworn in.
Second.
Motion, excuse me. Motion made and seconded by Councilor Bartley and Councilor Bacon that we allow this term to start immediately, noting that it's been vacant for the past month, and if necessary, if there's a meeting before the actual beginning of the term, which is about 3 weeks from now, that with all legal regulations and everything set aside, it's our intent that Mr. Seidel can start immediately. Does that make sense?
Yes, and that he be considered appointed to the vacancy, just for the official language too, I would say.
In appointing him to the vacancy, now that it's actually this vacancy, okay?
Right.
Councilor Jordan's vacancy.
Exactly.
Is there any discussion or any disagreement? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So moved.
I make a motion to take item number 5 off the table, the other water commission appointment.
Second.
Motion made second to proceed out of order and take item number 5 off the table. Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Any opposed? This is what we removed from the Public Service Committee. This is a vacant position for Water Commissioner, which became vacant when Commissioner John Parr Barrett passed away while serving the term. I believe I said it wrong at the last City Council meeting. I believe there is 2 years left on this term because Mr. Barrett was appointed to a 3-year term last January. So this is for 2 years. It's a vacant position currently. Filling this position, same as we just did for the prior position, would allow the Water Commission to have 3 members, and in this case, it becomes immediate without saying, because we have a vacancy and the term is got 2 years left on it. Is there any questions or any discussion on that? And the chair will entertain a motion.
Go to the first ballot.
Motion made and seconded to go to the first ballot. Clerk will call the roll. When your name is called, please state the name of your candidate.
Puello.
Tim Keen.
Israel Rivera.
Tim Keen.
Jenny Rivera.
Tim King.
Tallman.
Tim Keen.
Bacon.
Tim Keen.
Bartley.
Timmy Kane.
Givner.
Tim Keen.
Jordan.
Tim Keen.
Maldonado Velez.
Tim Keen.
McGivern.
Tim Keen.
Murphy Rumboletti.
Tim Keen.
Tim Keen appointed on the first ballot.
By your vote, you've appointed Timmy Keen to fill the vacancy for the next 2 years for that of a water commissioner. Thank you, everybody, and I'll call our president back.
Chop, chop.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to take number 2 off the table.
Second.
Motion is to take 2 off the table as seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And
Make a
this is the
motion we
minutes
receive.
for December 21st, 2021.
Make a motion receive.
Motion
Second.
to receive. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Next is, you have items 3 and 4. Any there? No?
Mr. President?
Councilor Vacant.
I'd like to make a motion to remove item 4 from the table for the purpose of sending it back to committee.
Okay, so motion is to take up item 4. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And the motion is to send it back to
Send it
ordinance?
back to committee because we have a new order before us and we have a bunch of communications looking for language changes and proposals, and it would be an awful lot to do on the floor.
Okay, so motion is to send it back to ordinance for more review. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? So that goes back to ordinance. Public comment, the list. I do believe someone did sign the list up front. So we do not have anyone here in the chamber for public comment. Is there anyone online? Okay. Jose Agustra? Adastra. Jose, are you there?
Hello, I am here.
All right, so just for anyone online, name, address, and we do have a time frame of 1.5 minutes, around a minute. I will let you know, and then at 1:30 we'll stop. So I turn it over to you.
Hello, my name is Jose Adastra. I live at 139 Hillside Avenue. First of all, I want to say that 1.5 minutes is a ridiculous amount of time for public comment, and it encourages the public not to engage. It should be at least double that amount. Other towns surrounding us have that. And second of all, it's about time that we establish an alternative to the police. We're suffering from an overdose crisis and a houselessness crisis, and we need to divert funds to address that specifically that are not carceral. We have exhausted ourselves investing in carceral and policing tactics to end the overdose crisis and drug trafficking, and we're losing family members, friends, and community members every day to the opioid crisis because we are not diverting funds into a non-violent way to address them. We need to we need to, for once, put our money where our mouth is and say, if we want to actually address this issue, gun violence, drug trafficking, you want to actually solve all that for us, we need an alternative to the police that has power to spend money on people who need it, people who are more likely to deal drugs than others, people who need resources who are being ignored. We need to be able to have a department that has access to the schools, information that they can use to invest in us. Have a good night.
Thank you. Jim Valeriani?
Yes, Mr. President, can you hear me?
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Jim Valeriani with the Metzing Law Group, 100 State Street in Boston, 02109. I do want to note that we have, I represent a client at 40-48 Main Street. They are on this call. They have authorized me to speak. They own property in Holyoke. Now, I'm not speaking to their special permit application, which is agenda item 18C on your agenda tonight, but I do want to, because I am concerned with some documentation that may have been filed with this council last week. I do want to remind the council that this hearing is closed by the Ordinance Committee on October 26th. They debated an additional condition last week. It is back before this council. No information from me or from anybody else should be considered in any way whatsoever. It would be a violation of the open meeting law, MGL 30A, and 40A Section 9 on special permits, and Section 11 on procedures. We have, I'm not going to speak any further because unlike the party who was not a party in interest who submitted directly to this council members, which I believe is a violation of your custom, we're not going to do that. We're going to stand by the law. And I appreciate this council's allowing me to speak this evening. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you. Libby Hernandez.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Libby Hernandez, 245 Walnut Street, Holyoke, Mass. And I just want to take a moment to salute and acknowledge all the new city council. It's an honor to see all these orders filed, and I support most of them. I mean, it's just amazing. Thank you so much. I'm here specifically tonight to talk quickly. I know that we have a minute and a half on the order filed by Councilor Gibner on the installing number 75, installing storm warning lights, much like those in our neighboring communities. I think that's going to bring a lot of awareness for people that are visiting our town, letting them know that there's a parking ban in place. Is going to communicate effectively, and we'll be able to have a much cleaner town. Another of the orders that I'm supporting tonight, number 76, filed by Givner, that the city of Holyoke amend the ordinance that provides Columbus Day as a holiday, and that it be updated to the wording that reflects that Columbus Day will now be referred as to Indigenous Peoples Day. As you already know, I continue to voice for the hundreds of people that for the past 2 years have been coming to meetings, either Zoom or in person, to support this. So I hope this can move forward. Thank you very much. Good health to everyone.
Thank you. Anyone else? So that's it for in the chamber and what, someone? Oh, we do have one more, sorry. JR.
Hi there, this is JR, John Rivera from 2 Laurel Street, Holyoke, and if possible, I'd like to request 5 minutes since there's been less than 5 people who have signed up for public comment.
No, it's 1 minute, 30 seconds, which is going.
Okay, all right, I'd like to speak on a lot of the orders that are being presented, or a lot of the items being presented. I'm in full support of what was previously said with item number 50 and onwards of Puello's items. This is much needed in Holyoke. I'm also in support of number 77 by Cocaine Givner, also much needed. And I also want to talk on the behalf of the COVID-19 crisis in Holyoke specifically. There are not enough PCR testing sites in Holyoke. I'd like to request that anybody who does have interest in increasing public safety and public health to please look into the issue, please help, whether that's adding another PCR testing facility that isn't appointment only, that is on site in a location in Holyoke that's accessible. It is much needed. The line waits at both HC and War Memorial are way too long. Today I waited about 2.5 hours to get tested. There's still pandemic going on. There are about 18 million people in America that have comorbidities that are dealing with the deadly blows of the pandemic. Please and thank you. Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you. And that's it? Okay. Everyone did receive the email from Jeffrey with regards to the public comment. To read these at length would exceed the minutes. I'll just do, because everyone does have them. One is from Gerardo Ramos of 275 Sargent Street. We support the Holyoke Green Growers LLC. They've been working and funding a major cultivation, manufacturing, dispensary project. I strongly oppose the cannabis moratorium proposed. Any further delay would adversely impact most of the successful business sections of Holyoke and attract for decades. So they're opposing that. The other one is from Bertie Ryan. I am the owner of Evergreen Industrial LLC. We are a cannabis cultivating company. They are also, I believe, opposing the special permit and moratorium. Then there's one from Christopher Ronaldet. We'll go back to the top. I'm writing a letter today to Holyoke, specifically located at 73 Sargent Street. So let's see. Currently in the process of starting a business for cannabis industry. I'm only asking that you take into consideration the hardships I've been endured in growing up in the area and negatively impacted. So this would also be voicing their concerns against the moratorium as well as the cultivation. Then we have one from Patty Devine. Wish to thank the Ordinance Committee for voting in favor of 18E on the agenda. Specifically thank Councilor Anderson Burgos for the examples of hearing the meeting and deleting the sections of the ordinance where that we have having on dog and the leash on the public way. Therefore, she's writing with regards to 18E. And then the last one would be, I have a general request for the council with a number of new members and residents interested with city politics. I'd like rules to be explained every now and then during the city council meetings. I don't want every time something happening, but the councilors might be using their expertise or Robert's rules. I think we want to government that would happen, only a few going on, and thank you for your help. That would be Lori Solomon from 192 Walnut Street. So that is for your emails. Those have been read in. There's no one in the chambers and there is no one online. So we'll move on to communications. First one is from the mayor reappointing George Meddy for a 2-year term, which will expire February 2024.
I'll make a motion to approve the reappointment.
This is for the library board of directors. So this one is a reappointment. Any discussion? Seeing none, hearing none. Motion is to grant the reappointment. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Next is...
Mr. President, can we suspend take 7 days a package and ship them off to, unless somebody wants to say otherwise, ship them off to public service?
Public service, yeah.
Yep, public service. So suspend the rules, take up 7A as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? This is a letter from the mayor appointing, it's not a reappointment, but the board member of the Valley Opportunity Council for the city of Holyoke. And this would be Shirley Figueroa of 223 Pine Street. and that will expire December 31st, 2022. 8 is a letter appointing Jacqueline Watson of 20 East Hampton Road to serve as a member of the Pioneer Valley Council as well. Both to public service. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Mr. President, for number 9,
Yep.
unless somebody wants to argue it, I would be of the opinion that we should just approve this.
We approve?
Yeah.
So number 9 is I hereby appoint the following individuals to serve as the Citizens Advisory, or CAC, for the Office of Community Development. And then you have Terry Gibson,
I'll make a
Russell
motion,
Nick.
we approve them all, just under discussion.
I'll second that.
All right, so that's 1, 2, 3, 4 people, and their terms shall expire June 30th, 2022. So motion would be to approve this. Counselor Bartley.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. President. Thanks for the second, Pete. This is just critical timing, and if we drag this out even a few weeks, it just, you know, this is really a great volunteer board, and it's kind of important for the mayor. It's important for community development. It's important for the DGR committee to really hear from the CAC. So if we wait much longer than this, I think we're doing a disservice to the community at large. So I'm hopeful that, I mean, I happen to know 4 of them, but if you know, I'll stand back if anybody wants to put them into committee, because that's really your right. But I'm hopeful that we can just move this along. Thank you.
Counselor McGivern.
Mr. President, I'm not 100% sure I agree with Councilor Bartley, but I don't think we confirm these appointments either way, being that they are with the block grant money and with HUD guidelines. Typically, it's the mayor's choice, but I could be wrong, Councilor Bartley, but I don't think we
Through the
confirm.
chair, Joe, you're probably more right than wrong, but I was just like the VOC.
Yeah.
I don't remember appointing those ever. But if we're gonna do it, if the mayor wants to put it before us, because under discussion, because that was our intent. If you remember the last meeting, I said that I thought because what the former mayor said, we were going to have most, if not all, mayoral appointees come before city council. We thought, those of us that were here, especially me, that had already been shipped off to Boston.
Correct.
Well, as it turns out, it wasn't shipped off to Boston. It's in the law department. Now, I have not received a communication from the law department as to what it's doing there or what they're doing with that home rule petition. Put that to the side for now. I'm sure at some point the law department will circle back to me on that. They're very busy, and I appreciate their work. But for this, I heard what the finance chair said. Though this is before us now, he's probably more right than wrong. So I just say, let's just go ahead and approve it.
Yeah, might just be a formality. Anyone further? No one? All right. So motion is to approve the 4 people. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? If we don't even have to, well, we still gave our blessing. 10 is communication with regards to transferring monies for HR salary, number of votes required.
Can I get a copy of that?
Just as a point of information, I don't see a copy.
All right, so item 10 will get a copy out to everyone. Do you want to?
Motion to receive with a copy to all counselors.
Motion is to receive with a copy to all. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Can I just make a quick point of information on, thank you, Mr. President. Number 10, it's on Jeffrey sends in the meeting materials on the Google Drive. So I'm not sure if you all have access to the Google Drive, but that letter is in the Google Drive under meeting materials for today's meeting.
Yeah, this has happened before where someone didn't receive it, whether it was because of that or it didn't pop up. So we'll get it out in another form too, so that way we make sure. All right, so 10, copy to all. All right, 11 is from the city clerk as well as from Jeffrey with regards to, let's see here, special minutes for a special meeting for December 15th, regular meeting for the 4th, and for the 3rd. So
Motion to receive.
Motion is to receive. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 12 is from the auditor. It's the budget report ending December 31st, 2021.
Motion to receive and send to finance.
Finance.
Motion is received, sent to finance. All those.
President, real quick on that.
Yeah, Councilor.
Is it, I know the old tradition was that all finance committee members were given a copy. I don't know if that, at least an electronic copy, does that still happen, or? Maybe
I'll have to check. What we did
knows.
do is we made sure everyone got a copy. That was the new protocol, that everyone would
All
get it.
counselors? Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's why it came in this fashion, so you should receive it in email forms, so everyone should get it.
I haven't received it yet. I don't know if anybody else. Maybe it's in the Google Drive, but I have not. I have to get acclimated to the new Google Drive system. But
Do we have a tutorial session on Google Drive?
I think that'd be great.
I think that.
Yeah.
But,
Yep. This over as well. So I remember seeing that over email.
So if anyone didn't receive a copy, follow up with Jeff in order to make sure you get the copy. But yeah, this, Councilor Jane, should go to everyone now.
Oh,
that was
good.
the whole intent.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, so motion is receive, copy to all to finance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion to take up 13, 14, 15 as a package.
Motion to suspend the rules, take up 13, 14, and 15. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
And
13 is the Holyoke Planning Board Communication, Valley Green, 306 Ray Street. 14 is Milltown Annual Report, and then the high-end cannabis at 110 Winter Street Report. Motion be received, sent to
DGR.
or ordinance?
Receive and send either to ordinance or DGR.
I think ordinance.
Yeah, I want you to send the ordinance. I think that's where you should go.
Ordinance.
So all those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 16 is the Thomas J. O'Connor Animal Control, and this is their information through December of last year.
Yeah, receive, send to finance.
This is received, sent to
Second.
finance. For those that are new, Thomas J. O'Connor Animal Control is who we hire to deal with the animals. And in the past, we were having issues with communication. They have been very good on making sure that they inform the council on everything that they're doing, as well as stats and everything. So
Holyoke has a seat on their board of supervisors. One of the hats I used to wear years ago. But do we know who the Holyoke rep is on that now, or?
I'll have to find out for you. I'm not sure.
All right.
We'll ask the mayor.
Okay.
But yeah, this is why this
Might be the
report comes
animal
in.
control officer. I'm not sure that.
Yeah, that very well could be.
Yeah, it's a great place. They do wonderful work.
All right, so 16 is receive, send to finance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 17 is the fire commission minutes
Motion to
for.
receive.
Motion would be to receive those. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? President's report. I did already give a little bit of information, but also I know the mayor was sending out a communication for financial updates, of which, since it didn't come through the clerk, we're going to have him send it in through the clerk and then refer it over to us as a communication. But he did ask if anyone would like to serve on his finance committee that he has established, or finance board, as we'll call it, and that would be the treasurer, the auditor, so on and so forth, myself. But he said he would like to put that offer out there if another member of the council would like to be on that. So think about it. If you do, email me or call me, let me know. I won't put any pressure on people tonight, but that was his request. With that, because we have a lengthy agenda, we will move on to reports of committee. First is ordinance. Because we have two members that are at home, Councilor Rivera and Councilor Velez. In order, if you're part of a committee, when you come into the chamber, the issues that you take up in that committee and refer out of the committee, you'll have a jacket that you have to sign your name in order to say that you're supporting what you did or did not support. Since you're at home, are you signing the jacket to remove from the committee what was taken up, which was 18A was the special permit application for ACMJ? You understand what I'm asking? Okay.
Yes.
Yes. All right, so I'll sign your names. or initial?
Yes.
All right. With that, Counselor Vacant.
So the motion on item A, actually, I'd like to make a motion to take up 18A and 18B as a package since they're at the same address.
Okay.
Second.
So motion is to take up 18A and B as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? A, as I said, is for a special permit for 532 Main Street, and then I'll read the conditions in a minute. And B is a special permit application for 532 Main Street, Suite 301. For both, if I see the conditions, they are the same. It is that recommended that the order be adopted with the following conditions: that the owner of the building always pay commercial tax rates to the extent allowed by federal, state, local law for the duration of the permit; that the building retain a minimum of 30 Holyoke residents for non-security jobs; that the hiring preference given to security personnel that are retired police officers or retired members of another police department who now live in the city of Holyoke. There should be no marijuana consumption allowed on site; that the hours of operation be set according to city ordinances; and that the applicant must abide by Massachusetts general law and guidances for Cannabis Control Commission.
Thank you. So the motion coming out of committee is to approve this special permit. It came with a 3-2 vote after a lot of discussion relative to the buffer issue that is currently on our agenda, and the arguments relative to liability to the city, given that the 3 permits have gone through the public hearing process. And so after fairly lengthy debate on those main 3 points, this recommendation to approve is coming on a 3-2 vote from the committee. If there are other members of the committee that wish to speak at greater length relative to the discussion, that's fine. There is a minority report relative to the motion that Councilor Jourdain would like to address.
All right, so Counselor Bartley first.
Well, I'll defer to the committee first, Mr. President. Then.
Okay. Counselor Jourdain.
Sure. So my issue is really more procedural than anything, and that is that it's come to my attention. Again, I was not on the council at the time these were filed, but what information has been presented to me leads me to the conclusion that these are, as a matter of law, should be denied, and in fact are required to be denied. Here's why. So one, we have an ordinance that says that we have a setback, a buffer of 200 feet, and I believe I have the citation correct, of 7.10.5.3a in the table of uses, and that this law was in effect by May of 2021, and these applicants had applied afterwards. So I tried to see if they could get the benefit of the doubt in that, did they perhaps file before the law change took effect, and in fact they had filed after the law change. So essentially, at the time that they had applied, these were the setback requirements. Now, there has been some discussion in the council that I listened to, and I'm sure others in the room had listened to over the course of the last 6 or so months or whatever, about, you know, this is what we wanted for buffers, or, you know, we would like perhaps some different buffers. Maybe we should consider different buffers, and we should have a discussion and some ordinance changes around that, which is all well and good. The problem is, the law at the time that these individuals applied is the law that this council passed. And therefore, they're not in compliance with the law. It's a very, very simple issue. Now, having said that, I think there's a fair remedy here, which is not that we just grant them these permits and as a result, we just ignore the law. I think the appropriate course of action is that they be denied without prejudice. And if it is the will of the body to review the setback requirements, and I tend to be in that camp of people that think this deserves worthy review, and we can have a debate about what those buffers should be. And there's a lot to work with, by the way, on those. I'm particularly partial to the Springfield rule. I think Springfield has a pretty good ordinance in this area, and something we may want to consider. But nevertheless, however that shakes out by way of this council, we could then, at that point, the applicant, we would make the law change, then this applicant could come forward, and at that point, they could renew their application and move forward. As a general rule, if you deny an application, they're precluded from 2 years from normally applying for a special permit again. I don't think we want to do that to these individuals, and therefore that's why I would suggest it be denied without prejudice, so that they would be able to immediately come back in and apply. It's also come to my attention that these individuals had their public hearing close sometime in October, and therefore it is important that we vote on this tonight. We can't just send it back to committee and sit on it, because as a matter of law, they would then be just automatically granted these permits without any of these conditions. And a number of the conditions that, came up are not unreasonable. But I couldn't join the camp that just said, grant them to them with these conditions, ignore the law. No, I couldn't join that, whether I think it's good or bad. And of course, I didn't have the benefit of the public hearings. All of that had been wildly, has been closed way before I've now had an opportunity to vote on it. So I'm still kind of studying the merits or demerits of the whole thing. But my concern is this legal question that you're basically being asked to grant this, notwithstanding the fact they don't comply with the setbacks. Other issues have been raised. I saw in an email there's people questioning the legitimacy of their ownership, the ownership of the land, all of that stuff. That's kind of interesting, but it's not material for the purposes of my analysis, because the showstopper for me is the buffers. And since you don't comply with the buffers, there's simply nothing else I can do for you, because as a matter of law, the permit has to be denied. And so that actually is this one and the next one. So I would recommend it be denied without prejudice. We do whatever we're going to do with these buffers, and then have these two applicants back. So thank you, Mr. President.
Councilor Bartley.
Oh, yeah. I don't want to. There are other committee members. I don't want to step in. So I'll.
Is that me?
Councilor Rivera.
Yeah, rather the committee.
Okay.
They should go first. Thank you.
So we passed it 3-2 with the idea of what Mr. Jourdain had just referred to with regards to the 90-day for us to be able to have the control to put the restrictions on before the 90-day time period was up. And as well with the understanding that we will be working on fixing the language within the next few weeks or so, because deadlines are coming up for everyone across the board. And with regards to them applying when it was already illegal, to my understanding, they and everyone was under the impression that we were going to have the language figured out by now. And that's why a lot of them began the process and were allowed to move forward with the process. There's two parts to this. And in my opinion, we kind of dropped the ball on this, and they should not be penalized for that. Yes, they may not be obeying the law, as Councilor Jourdain wants to refer to, and I agree with him that we should be within the law as much as we can, but at the same time, if we could suspend the rules with legal and have legal weigh in on some of the concerns that Councilor Jourdain has brought up, so that way we can make sure that all the councilors that are voting on this, they feel comfortable and secure that it's not as much of an issue as it's being brought up to be, right? Is that something we can do? Suspend the rules for legal?
The motion is to suspend the rules to allow legal to answer questions. Is there a second?
Second.
So all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So legal, did you hear the question from Councilor Rivera?
Good evening, Mr. President and members of the council. Yes, I did. There are a number of problems with the actions of the council in April of 2021 in amending the ordinance. But as you know, the most problematic for both developers, investors, and your council has been resolving the question of the buffer zone. My understanding after consulting with planning, reviewing their documents, reviewing all of the council materials and the law department records, is that when the ordinance went to the council for final approval, there was an error that was on the approved to form ordinance that was presented to council, and it contained the language zero buffer. Zero buffer was an error. My understanding is that it was used as a placeholder for a determination of what that footage would be. So instead of a zero buffer, it should have been 200-foot buffer. That was apparently the intent, and that was what should have been in there. It wasn't. It got to the council, and frankly, nobody caught it. Councilor Rivera is correct. This one's on the city. It's a mistake. And the only way to remedy that mistake from the prior council now, according to the good book, Robert's Rules of Order, is for the council to take up a motion to rescind so much of that April 2021 amendment as pertains to the buffer zones and location. I believe it's subsection A and B. So in that event, that would return you back to when that was first approved in I think it was May 2021. And that would restore it back to the 200-foot, 500-foot, and would allow these permits to go forward. These three are the only pending at this stage that would be penalized by our mistake. In addition, the council would then be free to allow those sections of the amended ordinance that were correct to stay in the ordinance, and also to move forward in the ordinance committee to correct some of these other sections. Councilor Jordan discussed having a good dialogue around this buffer zone issue. And I think once the mistake, which I do have to clarify, it really is, in the term of art, a Scrivener's error, where the person recording the document on behalf of others makes a mistake. Goes all the way back to when they used to have a chisel and the chiseler's hand slipped or something like that. But this is one of those instances, and Massachusetts courts have continually ruled that in such a case of an error, there's a good period of time. One case was 7 months after it. One case was 9 months after it. Famous case involving Music Inn and Lennox was almost a year after. So there is still time to fix it, and you can do it before approving these permits. That would take a motion to rescind, and that would require a 2/3 vote because of lack of notice that the motion was going to be given. But that's the status under Robert's rules. Thank you, Mr. President. I hope that answers Councilor Rivera.
I would just like to say thank you, Mr. Bissonnette. And again, these are the reasons why we pushed it forward. And I would, if given the chance or when we can after discussion is over, I would motion to approve the two 18A and 18B again on the grounds of most of what Mr. Bissonnette just recited.
That is the motion.
All right, so
Mr. President?
Yeah.
Is this something that we can rescind and vote on right now?
Yeah, we're gonna take a vote on it. People are just getting everything out with regards to what's going on.
I have a question.
Hold on. Next is Councilor Bartley.
Okay.
And then we'll go to your question.
Yeah, I guess I'll jump in now. I guess the committee's all done. Yeah. So, Mr. President, I wanted to make a friendly amendment to the list of conditions to the special permit, which is to say, my amendment would be. Petitioner applicant shall conform with city and state health laws and regulations, comma, including odor nuisance controls, comma, for the duration of the permit.
Second.
All right, so how about we have that amendment again, but so that everyone can hear the full.
I'll read it again slowly. Now it's been seconded, I'll just explain my rationale. Now so I'll just read it very slowly. Petitioner applicant shall conform with city and state health laws, rules and regulations, including odor nuisance controls for the duration of the permit. Just under discussion?
And so we got that. Well, hold on, under discussion. Well, hold on. Councilor Bartley has the floor.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. So, the language I propose, it's my hope that this might kill a couple birds with one stone, and that's to say, so where's the basis in law for this, first of all? So let's just go back to that. So we know in 94G, and that's Mass General Law, that the, do I have to quote it for you? I mean, it's in 94G. Okay, I'll dig it up if you want, but it's in 94G. So City Council has the authority in the Mass General Law to make reasonable conditions. So, I'll dig it out if you want. If you don't believe me, let me just dig it out, Mr. President. So just so.
We'll take your word for it, Council.
Yeah,
we believe.
Yeah, I appreciate it, but it only take half a second just to read that. It won't even.
I know it's in the CMR 935-501 too. That's another one.
But I have it. Hold on, just. Wow, boy, there's got to be a better way to do this, but it's my fault. I'm going to get to the one that's before 94G Section 3 talks about local control, and city and town may adopt ordinances and bylaws, et cetera, and impose reasonable safeguards. Okay, so that's the gist of it. The other part that's important to me, and I've used this multiple times in my city council career, is under special permits in our zoning ordinances. So it's under 9.3.3 conditions. Special permits, now I'm reading it, this is direct quote. Special permits may be granted with such reasonable conditions, safeguards, or limitations on time and use, including performance guarantees, as a special permit granting authority, that's us, may deem necessary to serve the purpose of this ordinance. It's such a beautiful sentence. It's so broad and it's very fair. The reason I'm proposing this, Mr. President, is it is my hope. I for one, am not voting on an ordinance change on a Roberts Rule motion. So I can say, let me say that, make it super clear. I'm voting no on that. So, because I think that's a bad way to make law on a Roberts Rule motion without something on a public agenda. I think that's just a wrong way to make law. I think though that having a reasonable seventh standard condition, and some of us were here in 2015, 2016 when we wrote all of these conditions, when we wrote the ordinance, when we utilized 94G. We went through, I mean, talk about hours and hours of meetings, sitting at that little table in ordinance meetings, hashing out all these rules and regulations and laws. We did that. I did that. I was a part of that. So it's, but now I see what's happening, especially with Mr. Aubin. I mean, a wonderful business person. I don't think what he's asking is a huge ask. He just wants to have odor control mitigation. That's all this condition does. It allows us to regulate pursuant to mass law and city ordinances, potential public nuisances such as odors. I don't think this is a huge ask. And I don't think this is a big hurdle for the marijuana industry. At the same time, Mr. President, it gives abutters the opportunity to go to the health and building departments to say, listen, this condition is being violated by this particular petitioner on this particular day. I think it's my hope that with this, and I know somebody might argue, well, you know, what about all these other ones well, they've all got to come back to us. Every special permit has to come back to us. It's 1 year. So when they come back, we have our standard set of conditions to the special permit. They're all the same. This one, this 7th one, would be universally amended going forward. So I tried to think this out. I heard what you know, my friend Kevin said and other counselors said. I do hear it. I, for one, if this doesn't pass tonight, I hope we can amend this as is, and I think this would be a great sign for the City Council that we can take a reasonable approach to this, an even-handed approach, and it'll be even throughout the industry in Holyoke, based in mass law and city ordinances. So we know it's based soundly in law that we can do this, and it's going to be evenly distributed to every entity in the industry. I think if we do this, when anybody comes back for renewal, we can just add this standard 7th condition to their existing list of conditions on their current special permits. So we can't do it on a blanket approach, but when they come back one by one, we have a chance to tackle it. Now, I have voted, Mr. President, 100% of the time to approve every single special permit. I have not voted against one of them. I don't intend to vote for a vote against the one tonight. I'd feel a lot better doing it if we can have this extra bit of protection for the city, for the abutters, these wonderful abutters that have been in this community, building up this community piece by piece. And now we've got a chance with a marijuana industry that is going to help take Holyoke to the next step. And I truly believe that. So that's my spiel. That's my argument. I hope some of that resonates, and I hope you'll consider it. Thank you.
All right. So,
Mr. President?
Hold on. So Councilor Dardane, then Councilor Givner, and then Councilor Rivera.
I had a question for counsel, Mr. Attorney Bissonnette.
Yep.
Okay. Mr. Bissonnette, isn't it accurate to say that the final legal form that was adopted by the council, that was put into legal form by the law department and voted by this council, installed a 200-foot buffer from any other use as listed in table 4.3 of the table of principal uses? Did that occur or not?
No, I don't believe so.
That's not what the council voted.
It is what we voted.
That was the intent, but that was not what was voted on.
It's been brought to my attention that did in fact occur. And that is the current ordinance in effect today, 200-foot buffer. And welcome to.
Can I just?
Hold on. We got it.
So what do you feel was adopted by the council? We may have to go back into the minutes and check, because we have our legal counsel here saying that a 0-foot buffer was installed. I listened very carefully what the gentleman said, but I'm being presented with information that said a 200-foot buffer was actually voted on the council.
I'm sorry, Councilor, could you explain the source of that information? I'm not sure what you're referring to and where it came from, because there are several problems with what appears on the city's website provided by a third-party vendor. I think some of you are aware of this, that when applicants looked to the city website to ask what Muni Code said was our cannabis zoning. At that point, our website had not been updated, was not updated, my understanding is, until September of 2021, only going back to January of 2021. So it did not have the updated cannabis zoning ordinance. Hard to say why. I know the clerk is exploring changing that process with the vendor, but that's all I can tell you is that if you went to the city website, that is what you would get, and it would tell you 200 feet from any other use. That would be incorrect.
So you're saying that the current ordinance says 0? That was what was voted on?
That's correct. If that is not the case, playing devil's advocate here, then there would not be a problem with these petitioners, would there?
No, the issue is any other use.
If there was a
200-foot buffer, right? That's the issue.
Right.
0 would mitigate the issue, right? A 0 buffer?
Right.
Okay, so at least we're on the same page on that part. So you're suggesting, and this will be researched, you're suggesting to the council this evening, which is material to the whole discussion we're talking about, that today, that we have a 0-foot buffer and that it's not a 200-foot buffer. And if that turns out not to be accurate, we're going to have a problem.
But it's
Right, so
Well, it really, if it's a 200-foot buffer from any other use, then that would be, in effect, a full ban. I suppose you could argue that an MME, a manufacturer or cultivator could locate next to another manufacturer and cultivator if you could somehow get the first one zoned or an existing one zoned. That would be a similar use, not any other use, but I think that would be tough to fill in between those lines.
Well, we allow it in IG, and, you know, if it's in IG, it's in IG. And it's not in any other use. I think what it's referring to there is things like residential and all these other things. So, but nevertheless, you're suggesting to the council tonight that that is not the current law of the city. So that's going to get researched, and however this shakes out, that's going to be a material point on all of this. So we should have had our ducks in a row on that, because I have information and belief that it's 200, but we'll find out.
okay, so next up is Councilor Givner.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just wanted to point out that number 6 for the special permits, we did add that all applicants must abide by Mass General Law and the guidances from the Cannabis Control Commission. So I think that would cover, I'm under the impression it would cover all the items that Mr. Bartley, or Councilor Bartley, was pointing out. He did word them more eloquently than just asking people to refer to the laws, but I don't feel like we have to add that, but I don't think it would hurt to add his comments to the permits. So that would definitely make them more straightforward. And then in regards to the quote-unquote Scrivener's error that we've been debating in the ordinance committee, and the previous council had discussions over, and that seems to be spilling into our term. It is not uncommon for there to be Scrivener's errors. I just want to point out that the federal government writes laws and has errors and then goes back and corrects them. So I really don't understand why we can't either revert back to the 300-foot school buffer while we can talk more about the specific ordinances that we want to implement in regards to buffer zones and other things like odor nuisance, studies about odor nuisance. I really don't understand why this is being debated so long. From what I understand, is it would be against the law to have a 200-foot buffer from anything as one of the ordinances for the town. According to the Cannabis Control Commission, that would not be allowable. So I think that's why we had voted on it to come back for a vote in the council. So unless I'm misunderstanding something, I think that's mostly what I wanted to point out. Thank you.
Councilor Rivera.
Mr. President, thank you again. I kind of was going to say what Mr. Councilor Givner was going to say. Had just mentioned with regards to rule number 6. The applicant must abide by Mass General laws and guidances from the Cannabis Control Commission. I don't disagree with the wording or the amendment that Mr. Bartley suggests. It's just that it kind of feels like in the conversation when we were doing the ordinance and we were coming up with some of the rules, that piece came up too. And I think that we came to a consensus that number 6 kind of covers all that. But again, like Councilor Givner had just mentioned, I'm not against, again, the wording. If it makes people feel comfortable, it just feels that it'd be kind of redundant to put the same thing again, just in Holyoke words, I guess, or in Holyoke terms. That's just where I'm coming from with that amendment piece. Thank you.
Councilor Vacant.
I just wanted to clarify that in the current language is the 200-foot buffer, which is why we're still having this discussion. And that is the language that the orders are filed tonight to go to committee again, because we have to do the public hearing process to get at it again. And so that has been the sticking point. What was on our website that was dated was the original 500-foot buffer from schools that had gotten changed to 200 from schools, which gave the applicants the impression that there was no other buffer language existing because the May one had not been posted. And it was further confused because the planning board made a recommendation that there be a 0 buffer. So there was language under the same numeration that said 0 buffer from any use. And so I do feel for the attorneys trying to deal with this now because they weren't here when all of this was going on. And one of the pledges I've made chairing the committee is that we're not going to have 5 versions of legal drafts flying around because it has created a huge amount of confusion. So I have promised to promptly take the matter up and deal with it in our committee. Thank you.
Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think tonight one thing is clear. We need to take a final vote one way or the other, or we are taking a vote. Right. Because it will become, these special permits will go into effect if we don't take that final vote one way or the other this evening. The interesting part I find is in both what's being discussed here is the intent of what took place last year. And I note that this type of special permit is about use. It's about zoning. It's connected to the zoning law, which some years ago, as we debated the marijuana manufacturing and the marijuana sale of marijuana, how we were going to control the use and where these establishments would be allowed. And rightfully so, we created a special permit, I think more so necessary for the dispensaries, but also important for manufacturing. And that's where I think our dilemma is between intent and reality. The intent is clear. We wanted to make something that was fair, with a fair buffer zone, schools, and that would address, neighborhood concerns. But in doing so, we have to recognize that we chose a zone that is in the older part of the city, the industrial general zone, the older part of the city, which when 125 years ago this city was designed, was for manufacturing, commercial use, to be within walking distance of residential property, of other commercial use, and so that people, could both live and work in the same neighborhood and either rely upon some trolleys back then buses, public transportation, or just plain old walking. And that's always a dilemma when it comes to zoning for the city of Holyoke because of our age. So it made sense that we tweaked the ordinance, and I think Attorney Bissonette said it, all the councilors that spoke that were part of this said it. The intent was to clarify it and to make it clear. I don't know where a zero buffer comes in. I don't know where the rest of it comes in, but it was never the intent of my vote. And I've said this and I'll say it again. That's why we need legal form, which we rely upon our law department, before us in time to read it before we take the final vote. We took that final vote on a night when the legal form was put on our desk the night we voted. On the Councilor Bartley's amendment, I had asked the ordinance committee to consider doing number 6 for not just this issue, but for a lot of issues that come up with both manufacturing and for dispensaries of marijuana. Also, if you look at these other amendments that we've been, these other conditions that we've been adding to every special permit consistently, they are special. They are conditions that note something that the city of Holyoke says, this is what we want from people who get a special permit. You know, the pay your tax rate, property tax rate, 30% of residents, non-security jobs, hiring preference to security be given to Holyoke retired police officers, no marijuana on site, although that is part of state law, shall be consumed. And operation of hours, I think, is something that we always talk about. We have to be consistent across the board, but I think we've done a good job on that. So therefore, the reason I asked that number 6 be worded this way is the odor and other regulations, state and local, are part of the general law and oversight of this type of business, an important part. We heard our Board of Health director say there have been 0 complaints about odor. 0. And we heard that they will be prepared to address them like they always would, including that in some instances the building department would be addressing such complaint. I believe that the regs and the laws are in place to, if there is any problems with the manufacturer related to odor or anything that is against the health code or against the law, we have the ability as a city locally to address that. The special permit is about use. I think we should keep a focus on use, which includes location, but also the type of use. And remember that we were designed as a city to be an industrial city, and manufacturing is the heart and soul of what we are until we change that. And this is a manufacturer, and I think we should go forward with the way the language is.
Councilor Jordan is asked to speak for a third time.
Actually, the other technically, those were questions to legal counsel. Those weren't speaking. That's not speaking. In fairness, my question.
We'll give you that one. So, yeah. Councilor Jordan.
Yeah, thank you. I again, call me, I'm into technicalities, but again, we're not making sausage here. We're making laws, and we're talking about people's legal rights and the legal position of people. We have to get these things right, okay? I'm reading now a letter dated December 17th, 2021. It's item 6 on a prior agenda. It's from Attorney Dignan. 1, 2, 3, 4th paragraph down. Says as follows: it is my understanding that the reason for the amendment to the zoning ordinance was to correct a Scrivener's error. More specifically, I have reviewed a letter from the Holyoke Planning Board dated November 18th, 2021, which states that their suggested changes to the zoning ordinance was to correct an inadvertent imposition of a 200-foot buffer for all marijuana establishment uses for any other uses in the table of principal uses. This is saying that the council adopted a 200-foot buffer. This is in a letter dated December 17th from council. I know she's online. I don't know, is that inaccurate? But that was given as information to this council. Secondly, I happened to go to the April agenda, April 20th, 2021, item 17G. It says on the agenda, reduce buffer from 500 feet to 200 feet. I don't see anything here that says 0 feet. Maybe that's what was meant. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. You know, if it's 200 feet, I don't know how we can just go around passing things that aren't 200 feet. That's my only point. I think we should fix it, and then we could reconsider these applicants, but I don't know how you can just grant it knowing that this is what the law is at the time. That's my only point. Because at that point, at some point, does any of these things matter? Well, yeah, well, we like this guy, so we'll pass it, versus we don't like this guy, so we won't pass it. I mean, we've got to fix whatever we want to fix, and that'll be the debate for another night. My only point is, that looks like what the rules are to me, and that's what it says right there.
All right, so the motion was from Counselor Bartley. Legal has?
Can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Can you
Can I
hear me?
speak?
Yep.
Can I speak? Good evening, counselors. I just had one issue to point up. When that letter was being drafted, attached to it, I mean, I do have the letter, as Counselor Jordan mentioned. Attached to it, I've got changes recommended by the planning board that are in red. And the red language, that's what needed to be changed. An MME shall have a 0 buffer from any other use as listed in table 4.3, table of principal uses, except set forth in paragraph B below. So that's in red, which told me that that was a change. I mean, that's where I saw 0 buffer. In the ordinance that we have right now, I went online. It doesn't have. I think I must have a very old version of what's online, because it doesn't mention anything at all, quite frankly. But I just wanted to mention the wording in this letter that I have.
Well,
that's it.
Hold on. So she's answered that. Counselor Velez was next.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I just want to point out, so Mass General Law, another counselor earlier referred to 94G Section 3A, but the rest of that says, provided that they are not unreasonably impracticable. So there was a, So there was a list and that I saw where there were about 30 community host agreements that we have. With that, technically we should have 30 spaces for these host agreements to hold their manufacturing business. So if our buffer is not allowing that, then our buffer is technically unreasonably impracticable. So right now our ordinance is against Mass General Law and that's the reason why I'm voting for these special permits, because the special permits did what they were supposed to do. Our ordinance as written right now is against Mass General Law, and we need to fix that to make sure that these special permits can happen. The other thing I wanted to mention, we did talk about a little bit about adding the another condition to the special permits around odor. I don't think anyone on the council, as far as I know, disagrees that odor may be an issue, but odor from marijuana is not, it's not the only odor issue that we have in our city. As mentioned before, we are a manufacturing city, so we want to make sure that if we put out some sort of like either enforcement or laws out there around odor, that it encompasses all odors, not just marijuana, because that is not the only odor that I know have heard that is an issue in our city. And the last thing I wanted to say, I just want to say a thank you to our city solicitors, because y'all are, it's a mess right now. So I just want to show a little appreciation to the city solicitors that are chosen to represent ours and work with us, not work against us. So I just want to put that on the record as well. Thank you.
All right, so the motion first was from Counselor Bartley. It was seconded to add that 7th provision as he has read it into the record. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
I'd say the ayes have it based on my ears.
No.
So that 7th would come in. So with that,
Can we do a roll call?
roll call for what?
For the amendment to add the.
All right, so show of hands. If you're voting for the amendment as read by Councilor Bartley, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 7 would have it. My ears are getting old, but I got it. All right, so the 7th is in. Now we're back to 18A and 18B to grant the special permit with the 7 conditions. The clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting to grant the special permits.
Puello,
Yes.
Israel Rivera,
Yes.
Jenny Rivera,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Vacant,
No.
Bartley,
Yes.
Kivner,
Yes.
Jordan,
No.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Rumboletti,
Yes.
10 yeas, 2 nays.
With your vote, you approve the 18A and B. 18C, Committee on Ordinance to refer to special permit for 40/48 Main Street for H&H Holdings, Inc. Recommend that be adopted with the following conditions. 1, that the owner pay taxes, commercial, federal, state, and local for the duration of the special permit. That the business retain a minimum of 30 Holyoke residents for non-security jobs. That hiring preference be given to security personnel that are retired police officers or retired members of another police department now living in the city of Holyoke. No consumption of marijuana on site. That the hours of operations be set according to the city ordinances. That the applicant must abide by Massachusetts general law and guidances from the Cannabis Control Commission. I'm assuming, Councilor Bartley, you would like to make an amendment to this as well?
Yes, so moved.
Second.
So it would be the same one as last time, which is that the applicant shall confirm with the city and state health law and rules and regulations, including an odor nuisance laws for the time of the permit.
Yeah.
So with that,
Shall conform. Just conform, not confirm. I think
okay, conform.
I think you.
I think he's
Yeah, he's got it.
Jeffrey's got it down. I'm just trying to
Close
make
enough.
sure we get something on the record.
Close enough.
Thank you. So, Mr. President, the motion from the committee was to recommend approval of the special permit. This was, again, a 3-2 vote coming to this body. The debate and discussion was almost identical relative to this application as the last one, so I won't go through it all again. However, I would note that in light of the public speaker who spoke relative to this 18C agenda item tonight in the public session, and the fact that the deed is a part of the public record that was submitted as part of the public hearing, that it is fair for the applicant and or any other interested citizen to weigh in on it, because it is part of the public record. So given that, for all the reasons we've all heard, the committee voted 3-2 to approve, and the minority report remains the same.
Councilor Bartley.
Well, I just want to make a motion to approve it as amended. Was that motion made?
Second.
Okay, then under discussion.
Yep.
I heard.
Why not?
I heard what the attorney said in public comment. I respectfully disagree. I believe if we can, and we have done traditionally, whether it's at the rail or in public comment or sent to us, we've had open meeting, we've had public hearings ad infinitum in this body where we've had ancillary information come even after it's closed and we still considered it. Particularly, however, that is not exactly on point with this exact issue. The email we received today, Mr. President, is in fact a public record. So I can't understand a lawyer saying that we as a body can't look at a public record and consider that. So I think that argument is spurious. I think we can look at this property deed. Consequently, I would like to get some kind of a help on what from the law department as to what whatever the name is, Lipton Lawyer, I don't remember the name of the law firm, but I guess I need to get, I see the argument that Mr. Aubin's lawyer made, but I want to get our law department's interpretation of what that deed is the effect of that deed. So let me just condense that, because that was a little wordy. One, the lawyer in the public comment said we can't look at that. Well, that's rubbish, because that deed is a public record. We absolutely can't look at that. That does not violate open meeting law. That's a nonsensical argument. There's no validity to that argument whatsoever. Zero. But we do have this letter before us, and I want to understand from our guys, I hear what Mr. Aubin's lawyer is saying, but I want to know what our guys are saying. So I like to, under suspension of rules, I hope that our law department's had a chance to review that letter and to review that property deed, and so they can advise us as to the validity of it.
We're still under suspension of rules. So
okay, so
we
under
already did that.
suspension, I'd like to have our law department tell us what they think that property deed says.
So Mike?
I will say that we found this letter was forwarded to the law department shortly after the council received it. So we got it around the same time that you did. Haven't really had a chance to look at it, but my understanding is that this Main Street property had been purchased from the city at a tax title auction. Contains 3 lots. The provisions in all of the city's agreements that I've seen so far with respect to tax title sales of surplus property contain a provision that the purchaser may, if it's consistent with the plans put forward in the request for proposal, the RFP process by which the City of Holyoke now sells property, tax title property, if it's consistent with what they put in for their proposal, they are allowed to transfer it to another entity. In this case, after hearing from the attorney for H&H today, I'm told that that's exactly what they intend to do once they get permitted. And this is because this is the name on their application going forward with the state license. I will again caution that not only are we holding up some of the state processes by delaying these permits, they have obligations on temporary permits, conditional permits to hit certain milestones. So we have some issues with that because of our faulty ordinance. But I think the deed reference about ownership is grasping at straws at this point. It is part of the public record, as the Chairwoman Vacant correctly pointed out, because they have to submit that with their application. But that ownership issue is easily overcome by the ability to transfer within the conditions set by the city in selling the property. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilor Bartley.
Just through the president to Mike, Attorney Bissonette. Mike?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm looking at the warranty deed, and it's from 42 Main Street to H&H Realty Holdings. So you have the deed in front of you? Okay.
I do not know.
Okay, well, it goes from 42 Main Street LLC to H&H Realty Holdings LLC. And the property deed, in other words, the grantor is H&H Realty Holdings, when in fact the grantor should be 42 Main Street LLC. So I don't see how, I mean, look, this is, I don't think that this is completely fatal, but it's really sloppy lawyering, because, and I'm shocked that the registry let this go on record, because they are the best of the best, the clerks in the registry. So, but this is, So what's happening here is that the grantor, you know, I'm giving it to Will, and you know Bartley's giving it to Poyo. Well, Bartley ought to be signing a deed. In this case, it's as if Poyo signed the deed to himself. So it's I mean, you can't, you know, Will, you can't do that. You don't ever do that. So I'm just not understanding how this happened, Mike. But it
had to be a scrivener's error, Counselor.
Well, there you go. Well, there you go. So I don't, and I agree with you. I don't think this is fatal, but it's problematic, and it's a good catch by the lawyer. But I don't. But it's got to be, you know, if we're going to have an eighth condition, you know, they got to fix their ownership, for heaven's sakes. I would say, right? So
they do because they have to be in compliance with the City of Holyoke's requirements in order to move forward at the state level. So in discussing that with counsel for the applicant today, they provided assurances they're going to straighten out the title to the property.
Okay, Mike, and so through chair to Mike Bissonette. So Mike, are all these the same people? 42 Main Street LLC and HH Realty Holdings, are they?
Yes.
Okay, so this is all insider baseball, right? Okay, so they can.
Yes.
Okay, so this is, and which is again perfectly legitimate and legal. There's nothing wrong with that. I just want to understand that. I just want the public to know that this is, you know, this is fixable. I mean, it just something happened that went wrong. You know, we all make mistakes, whatever. But okay, so that's the only question I had on that one. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right. So to the amendment, adding the 7th provision. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
Still say the ayes have it. So 7th provision was added. Now on to motion is to receive, adopt, and grant the special permit as amended.
Conditions as amended. Yep.
Conditions as amended. The clerk will call the roll if you vote.
Mr. President, just based on that discussion we just had, should we make another provision that they should, you know, correct the ownership?
I think the legal's already said that they are. They are doing that. That's exactly what Mike said.
You did say that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you don't, in your opinion, you don't think we ought to condition it?
I think that's what they know of the issue, and they're going to look to correct it, and that's what they told legal.
So, Mr. President, I'm just going to also be voting no again because of the buffer issue on this one as well. It's a technical defect. So just state that for the record. Thank you.
So with that, the clerk will call a roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for 18C as amended.
Puello,
Yes.
Israel Rivera,
Yes.
Jenny Rivera,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Vacant,
No.
Bartley? Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Jordan,
No.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti.
Yes.
10 yeas, 2 nays.
With your vote, you approve that one. 18D, Committee on Ordinances referred in order that the City of Holyoke re-examine the current ordinance, which only specifies that snow and ice shall be removed from the entire width of the sidewalk, only on all portions of the street on which parking meters are installed, but not state that for residential zones, Section 78-141, removal of snow and ice, and then you have A and B as provisions. This is that we are recommending that it be adopted. Councilor Vacant.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I'll make the motion to pass the first reading.
Motion is receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Under discussion.
So in committee, we arrived at the point of consensus during our meeting that we hadn't achieved earlier. And we had to review legal form, and there were some amendments that had been provided to us. And Jeffrey was kind enough to put those up on the screens so we could see everything all together. And I trust everyone had the version in enough time to be able to review it before tonight. It looks okay to me that what was intended to be changed has been added and what was intended to be kept remains.
Okay. Anyone further? So to pass the first reading, Councilor Bartley.
Yeah. Just want to. I just wanted to run something by, hopefully to God I have it. Okay. All right, so in 78 141B, so it says, on all portions of streets on which parking meters are installed, all snow and ice shall be removed from the entire width of the sidewalk within 8 hours after cessation of a snowstorm.
And that remains.
That remains. Yeah, I don't think that should remain.
Well.
So I'd like to make, and let me make the amendment, and then if we want to vote it down, we'll vote it down. But I just want to change the 8 to 24 hours. That's my very simple amendment.
All right, so amending section B to instead of be 8 hours to 24 hours. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you.
Seconded.
So under discussion, thank you. 8 hours is inconsistent with with SJC. So there's no carve out for parking meters, right? So when you shovel, the SJC has said you got 24 hours to clear your sidewalk from the cessation of the storm. Here, somehow we have just on streets with parking meters, we have 8 hours. That is contrary to that's contrary to state law. I mean, that's slip and fall stuff. I'm not an ambulance chaser. I just read the stuff. So it's the state law is very, very clear. The SJC has made it very clear. It's 24 hours. So I don't think we, under our ordinances, can, in this case, make a tighter restriction. I think what we're doing is opening ourselves up to potential liability. So my amendment is just to make B consistent with A. In other words, to have, whether you got parking meters or not, you got 20, once the storm ends, you got 20, it's got to be, you got 24 hours to clear it off. That's it.
So no one further. Oh, Councilor McGivern.
Just a point of confusion.
Yes.
My legal in front of me says 24 hours.
Yeah, it does say it.
I don't see 8 at all. And this is why I say legal forms have to be provided, which this one was, in advance.
Jeez, Joe, mine says 8.
Mr. President?
Mine says 24.
Mine says 8.
Mine says 24, yeah.
So.
On B?
Hold on. Wait, everyone, stop. So Councilor Vacant first.
So to clarify, what is before you is what is being added to the ordinance, and the current ordinance otherwise stands. We've changed what was a different number for the clearing of the sidewalks to 24, and including the width of the entire sidewalk, which had not been delineated.
Right.
So the intent is to add the new language, not to take away any of the language that was there already, which had unintentionally happened in the earlier version.
Which is clear the way I read it, but
yeah. So
how can we do anything else than what's in front of us?
Yeah, right.
So I have the legal form here, and maybe once again it's going to be the night of Scribner error. So section 1, by adding to the end of section B the following language: all snow and ice shall be removed from the entirety within 24 hours. Section 2, adding the $50 violation. I see nothing with 8 hours.
So, if I may?
Yeah, go ahead.
So the current language, which we did not change, has the language that says 8 hours for the meters.
Okay.
We did not address that.
Okay, so it's still in the original form,
That was
but
not
for the
before.
editing, they don't put it in there because they didn't address it.
Correct.
So the 8 hours is there, it's just not on this legal form because it wasn't
We
addressed.
did not change
So
it.
we're
And
voting
that's-
on 24 hours.
And that's what Counselor Bartley is saying is you should have brought up the 8 hours in
With
his
all due
view.
respect, I just think that needs to be a separate order.
Which we could do. We could just
We
file a
could
separate
amend
order,
it, but it
amend
could just also be a separate order. Either way.
Okay. Anyone else? Counselor Velez, sorry.
No, thank you, Mr. President. I was just going to repeat sort of what Councilor Vacant said, where on the ordinance it has B, where it's on all portions of streets on which parking meters are installed, all snow and ice shall be removed from the entire width of the sidewalk within 8 hours after the cessation of any storm. I don't know if it's confusion or. So what we have in front of us as far as legal language, like Councilor Vacant said, this is what we're adding to that. I think I don't know if it's confused or, I mean, I agree that we should strike that part completely, that whole 8 hours, given the fact that the 24-hour language that we're adding takes care of it because it's about the entire width of the sidewalk. It doesn't really differentiate between if it's parking meters or not. So if the motion was made to strike the 8 hours and just add the 24-hour, then I'd go with that.
Yep, that was the amendment.
It is a motion.
Yep, motion.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyone further?
The motion's out of order, Mr. President.
So what is being asked, if you look at your agenda, Section B will talk about the 8 hours after a storm. The ordinance, legal language coming to us, doesn't reference it. It just says, put at the end of Section B, as we've read, 24 hours, leaving the 8 hours before, which Councilor Bartley is saying really technically she just moved the 8 hours out of there, and then the sentence finishes itself saying you have 24 hours to clean the sidewalk. That's really what we're asking, or what's being asked, sorry.
Well,
changing 8 to 24.
Yeah.
Right, because you get rid of the 8, it's 24 at the end of the sentence.
I just under discussion. I don't care if this motion's out of order. If we have to table this, then put it back in legal form, and so be it. I don't think we're gonna. I don't think the world's gonna fall apart if we have to table it. But
so why don't we do that, because it is a good point about the 8 hours. Why don't we table it in order to have it fixed, and then come to us as a full legal form.
I'll make a motion that we refer back to legal just to amend. Well, I guess we got to vote on it first.
Yep.
Well, we should probably vote on it first. Then we vote if we approve it, then we can send it back to legal.
So is there a motion to table it with a refer back to legal?
But do we vote on the amendment?
I'll second Councilor Bartley's amendment to refer this to legal to change that language of 8 hours and refer right back to the Old City Council.
All right. So motion is to refer
second.
back to legal to have it amended with regards to the 8. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And that's
Motion to table.
Second.
Motion is to table. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So that one was tabled with legal to come back. All right. E, Committee on Ordinances refer an order that the language in the Hoyoke Community Code, Section 14-5, be removed from the code. The language of the code reads as a dog may be off restraint under the adequate voice control of a person. A dog which does not respond to the commands and is in the control of such animal is not under restraint. This language, especially if under adequate voice control, is overly subjective and does nothing to protect another person from the animal of injury should the dog owner not maintain the control of the dog. Have considered, recommended that the order be adopted. Councilor Vacant. Motion is to receive, adopt, pass the first reading. Or discussion? discussion?
Mr. President?
Yes. Councilor Villas.
Not really discussion, just more as a addition. This is already Massachusetts general law. Like we do, the Massachusetts does have a law where in public places, dogs, regardless of size, should be leashed. So I just wanted to make that clear when we're talking about sort of what we've been doing at the local level and what has been law at the Massachusetts level for years now.
Okay. Anyone further? Seeing none, motion is to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is to pass the second reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
And motion that the passage be ordained.
Motion that the passage be ordained. The clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for 18E.
Puello,
Yes.
Israel Rivera,
Yes.
Jenny Rivera,
Yes.
Tolman,
Yes.
Vacant,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Gibner,
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
With your vote, you approve that one. 18F, the Committee on Ordinances refer an order that the city adopt a temporary moratorium on issuing special permits for MME and the use of land and structures in the city for MME for a period of 6 months. So the city can study and enact ordinances to protect the health and well-being of the citizens, businesses that may negatively be impacted by MMEs, including but not limited to, and then there's a list of things. Recommended that the order has been complied with a further recommendation that appropriate departments research potential health and quality of life impacts that have been raised. Councilor Vacant.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the motion is to receive and adopt the committee report.
Motion is to receive and adopt. Under discussion?
So we had a very good and robust discussion relative to this. I think most significantly, we received input from our legal department that because of the vote that was taken in our community, in order to implement a moratorium, we would have to go through a very cumbersome process, and that process would probably take as long as the order that was filed by former Councilor Sullivan and co-sponsored by me was proposing. So rather than spend the time doing that, we have requested through our mayor and the various departments, as it is our understanding that there's current work going on relative to these issues and concerns and matters, which I would just note for the record have been made part of our public record, and there have been written odor complaints filed to the city council through the public hearing process. Now, they might not have been sent in a letter to the Board of Health or the building commissioner, but I think if something is submitted to the council in a public hearing, it counts. But maybe that's just me. But anyway, so we have asked as a committee, because the issues and concerns that people are raising are being taken seriously, and there will be an opportunity, rightfully so, for the various concerns to be heard. Thank you.
Anyone further? Councilor McGivern.
I'm sorry, and thank you, Councilor Bacon, but can you just clarify, we're voting on that the order was complied with, or the recommendation is?
That the order was complied with, in that the order was reviewed and based on the legal recommendation that it would require a great deal of work, and it would have to go on a ballot at a future date way beyond the proposed moratorium time period. That after all of the discussion, the committee agreed to find the order complied with, in that the intent of it was discussed but found not to be possible.
Thank you. I think you said that the first time. I just.
All right. Seeing no one further, so motion is receive, adopt the committee report that's been complied with. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Off to Finance, 19A. Committee on Finance who's referred an order that there hereby be appropriated $5,000 from assessor to assessment update. $5,000 recommended that be adopted.
Make a motion to receive, pass the first reading.
Motion is receive, adopt, pass first reading. Our discussion, Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. The Finance Committee met and had our now Chief Assessor, Deb Burnell, before us, formerly one of our assessors, longtime assessors. She's requesting this through the mayor, with the adoption of the City Council, a transfer of $5,000. The surplus in assessor is because that position is now vacant. It was her position, and we have yet to appoint a person to replace her. She quickly calculated, our auditor was with us, that what's left in that line item should be enough for when we do appoint someone as assessor to cover the rest of the year. The request is going into what's known as an assessment update. The role of assessors are to continually update assessment of property. They do so on a continuous basis, but every 3 years, the assessment update needs to be certified by the state. When it comes to a point of certification, the city's been using Mayflower Associates. They're well known to the assessors, somewhat well known to us in the chambers, and she's requesting this money to pay for the update itself. There's a difference of $4,060 within the line item. The committee recommends that we adopt the transfer.
Anyone further? So motion is to pass the first reading. First reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is passed the second reading. The clerk will call roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the transfer.
Boileau,
Yes.
Israel Rivera,
Yes.
Jenny Rivera,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Vacant,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
With your vote, you're approved. 19A. 19B, Committee on Finance, who's referring order that they hereby requested a transfer of $16,180 from Assistant Auditor, Head Clerk, adding up to $16,180 to Irs Penalties.
Make a motion that we receive, pass the first reading.
Motion
Second.
receive, adopt, pass first reading. Our discussion, Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee had both our newly elected city treasurer and auditor before us. As always, the auditor is present for all our meetings. And we note that the transfer is coming from the assistant auditor's pay, which has also been a vacancy for a good part of this fiscal year, and the head clerk pay. The assistant auditor is $9,800. The head clerk is $6,380. After noting that the surplus is available without affecting anything for the rest of the year, we asked, IRS penalties are due. The total amount of the IRS penalty is actually $18,000, and the transfer is to for this particular line item where it comes out of is to make sure is to put enough money in that to pay the penalty itself. Our treasurer explained that upon taking office, she did find that back in August of 2020, a withholdings transfer error was made. Withholdings being that of city employees, this is the city employees' money, is withheld throughout the course of the year for paychecks, and these withholdings have to be transferred to the IRS in a timely fashion. Now, what her research, this is Treasurer Katie Jakowski, found that this particular transfer in that month took place about 7 to 8 days later, which is a big no-no in terms of the way IRS does business with any employer. Noting it, though, at that time, the IRS had told the city that the penalties totaled $138,000. Treasurer Jakowski worked with the IRS, came to an agreement that the $18,000 is much more reflective of what did not take place, and the late payment of those employees' withholdings will be satisfied by the $18,000. I think it's I think it's something that was inadvertent, although very serious, that took place back in 2020, And I think our current treasurer handled it quickly and both efficiently, but quickly, to make sure that the IRS was happy that the city has taken the corrective measures to make sure it doesn't happen again, and the penalties are due the IRS. The committee recommends the transfer.
Councilor Jordan.
Yes, I'm going to vote for this because, you know, legally we're required to pay the IRS this penalty, but it can't go unsaid that the taxpayers of Holyoke are out $18,000 because somebody didn't do their job. And so the fact of the matter is the treasurer had an obligation to pay the withholding on $2.4 million of withholding that was withheld from the retirees. The payment was not made. It was made late. And now our citizens are out 18 grand. And, you know, you can't have mistakes like that. This stuff is routine. This isn't like this is a one-off. This is something that's done monthly at a minimum. And this should just never happen. And, you know, it does raise eyebrows when in that same office we had the $10,000 giveaway when somebody sends a bogus email over there saying, hey, I'm the Holyoke Gas and Electric. Can you send me 10 grand? And it turns out it's some guy out in New York State with some crazy email that clearly was not the G&E. And somebody, we were out 10 grand that time. Now we're out 18 grand. You know, you make a mistake, you make another mistake. You know, this stuff is costly to taxpayers. We have to get this stuff right. Thank you.
Councilor Vacant.
I would just note that it was a previous treasurer, not our current treasurer.
That's correct. Yep. Very important to point out.
Seeing no one further, motion is passed the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion to pass the second reading. The clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the transfer.
Puello,
Yes.
Israel Rivera,
Yes, I need to get a mouse, man.
Jenny Rivera,
Yes.
Tallman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
With your vote, you approve the transfer. 19C, Committee on Finance to refer in order that the assessor appear before the City Council to discuss current property tax exemption amounts and qualifying criteria to see if any adjustments can and should be made to ensure all deserving residents who should qualify for assistance get assistance. Recommended that it's been complied with further recommendation that the age of eligibility for 41C exemption be lowered to 65.
Make a motion to receive and adopt the committee's recommendation.
Motion to receive
Second.
and adopt. That's been complied with. Under discussion, Councilor McGivern.
Thank you, Mr. President. The committee met. Note this is Councilor Jordan's order, and certainly I'd like to turn it over to him in 30 seconds. We did meet with both our Chief Assessor, Deb Burnell, and our new tax collector, Laura Wilson. Both were in agreement with the gist of what Councilor Jordan has brought to the attention of the City Council and to the city itself. Reimbursements are a major part of what the state does in terms of property assessments and property classifications and taxes themselves. The recommendation, of course, is that the order has been complied with after a very healthy and good discussion, and that we do change, and it sounded like everybody was in agreement, the age from 67 to 65. Note that I am 66 years old, so I have no conflict. I also don't qualify for this, so I don't have a conflict, but I think it's important to many of our citizens, and if I could, Mr. President, I'd like to turn it over to Councilor Jordan.
Councilor Jordan.
Yes, thank you. So first of all, I want to thank the chairman and the rest of the Finance Committee who did a fantastic job moving this through, and I also want to thank our Chief Assessor, Deb Burnell, for putting together the statistics on this. This was very helpful. As you recall, at our last council meeting, this was an order that we sent over to Finance for review. First point I'd like to make is we did, for folks that are not aware, but will hopefully through this process will become more aware, that there is help for financially cash-strapped seniors on property taxes. And they really need to avail themselves of their rights and their exemptions as to what is available there for help. These property taxes are really hurting people out there, and you know, we're as a city going to try and do the best we can to help people. Clearly, you know, Holyoke has the highest residential tax burden in the state. As we think about property taxes divided by the per capita income, and the state allows us 259 of the 41C exemptions. That is for these seniors who will now be 65 and over by us adopting this if we lower the age from 67. We're allowed, and the state will fund 100% of 259 exemptions at an amount of $500 each if they qualify with the age and the income limit. And therefore, it's incumbent upon us to do whatever we can to market this to our residents, because I have a hard time believing that currently there's only 49 seniors who have put in for these 259 exemptions. That means there's 200 senior families out there that could get this. And now we have set the amount at $750. So the city pays $250 and the state pays $500. By the way, we could go to $1,000. We didn't settle on that in finance the other night, but we could potentially do that. But the point is, there are 200 senior families out there that could get $750 off their taxes if you meet the income guidelines. And we really got to collectively, all of us in this room, and I want to appreciate Mayor Garcia, who said he was going to do what he can to get the word out more and talk it up at the senior center and on the public access to let people know about this, because the notion that we're only giving out 20% of our allowable exemptions to poor seniors, that shouldn't sit well with any of us. And we're doing our part tonight. By now, we're able to lower it to the max eligibility age of 65. And again, the state picks up the vast majority of this. So I think this is wonderful. I thank everyone involved in the city council for moving so quickly on this. And I encourage everyone, if you qualify, to apply. And all of the information is available at the assessor's office. And Deb Brunel and her team will be happy to help any senior that would like to apply. Thank you.
Councilor Meagher.
Just real quick, just to add that the Councilor Draney was referring to what Deb Brunel provided us in writing. If you haven't got a copy of it or saw it, I know there were some on the table in the back, but they're all the property tax exemptions in the city of Holyoke in reference to the chapters such as the 41C.
Councilor Bartley.
I think Debbie does a good job of posting these things online, so that's always a great resource. I would just say also, unfortunately, Kevin wouldn't qualify for Rookie of the Year. He's been here way too long, but we have numerous other new counselors who can qualify for that incredible honor. I didn't win it myself, but I know we've got some brand new counselors here, and you can learn a lot, as I did, by once in a while listening to the, not always, but once in a while listening to the veteran counselors. So this is not surprising that Kevin developed this and researched it and got it before us, and thanks to the finance chair for shepherding it through, and I look forward to voting for it. Thank you.
Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, I just want to thank Kevin for bringing this forward. It definitely is a need for the seniors out there and veterans. This is something that I think can be marketed a little bit better. I know Deb Brunel has it in her office, and talking about being online. I think someone brought up about putting on a G&E bill, an insert in there. So that's important too. There definitely can be more than 200 people that could take advantage of this. And often, not often, but maybe once or twice a week I stop in the senior center for a coffee. So I get one of these copies of these exemptions, put it up on the board, because they get a good amount of people that get into there every day. You know, especially for the lunches, you get well over 100 people in there, and several of them I know could use this. So great order, and I'm glad to be able to take this up in finance and move it along.
And Jeff just informed me he did post it to social media, so it's out there through that too.
That's good.
See no one else, motion that's been complied with. Councilor Rivera.
I just wanted to speak in reference to the Rookie of the Year. I wanted to know what we get recognized with. Get a little belt, you know what I mean? A little pin.
Yeah.
I would aspire to getting that. You know,
well, you get a Spider-Man trophy.
As I said, I didn't win it I didn't win it myself. I think Gladys did. So, but we'll figure out some great prizes. That's up to the president.
Yeah. No, but in all seriousness, I thank Councilor Jordan for pointing that out. That's a very good incentive for a lot of seniors to take advantage, especially the ones that are on fixed incomes. I'm not item qualified. And it'll be a while until then, but I think it's a great advantage, and again, thank you for that.
Thank you, Councilor Rivera.
Councilor.
I don't know exactly who this should go to, but I'm on the city's website and I see it there, and I'm wondering if it could be translated into Spanish by maybe someone in the staff or
go to the interpreters that we.
Okay.
And I know we'll have to get clarity on that. I know Councilor Murphy sat with them to enter into a separate contract for them to interpret stuff.
Yep.
I'm not sure if that was finalized, but that's where we'll have to get clarification.
Okay.
But I know he was working on that.
Okay.
Anyone further? So motion that's been complied with?
No, that'd be adopted, because we're actually making a change.
Receive, adopt, that's been complied with. For the order, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Mr. President?
Yep.
I have a quick personal privilege. The Finance Committee that evening spent the bulk of our time, these were very important issues, but on the request from the school committee and the mayor for a bond of $475,000 to keep the new middle school project moving forward. This would be just to pay for the feasibility study and associated costs. I just wanted to point out that we are continuing to meet with that. A number of questions, very good questions, were asked. I received word today that we will be receiving an email sometime this week with the answers to the questions, which will come in, go to the committee, and we will be having a meeting in the future. I just want anybody, if you have any questions about the project, the Joint Committee has met with the School Building Committee and the Receiver Superintendent. The Finance Committee has met with them. We've had 2 presentations. It's out there online, but if you have any questions, please let us know or come to a future Finance Committee meeting, because we have a very, very tight deadline to get this in front of the MSBA, with the hope that we get final approval, if so be, from the MSBA. So I just wanted to keep everybody up to date on that.
Okay. All right. There was no public safety, no public service, DGNR, charter rules, or joint committee. So it's on to motions, orders, and resolutions. I'll just make one point, especially for the new people. If it's going to committee, don't debate it. Debate it in committee, and then we'll take it up there. Councilor Tallman.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. Just want to let everybody know that tomorrow I'll be having a Public Service Committee meeting at 6 p.m. I got a couple of appointments, but I think the major one will be our appointment of our Personnel Director. We'll have an interview with her tomorrow night. Somebody can make that or be on Zoom for that meeting. I think it's a very important meeting.
Thank you. All right, so.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I also wanted to make a point for the public. So we have the 2 next charter and rules committee meetings that are happening Wednesday, January 26th, and Wednesday, February 23rd, both at 6:30 p.m. Just so the public is aware.
Okay.
And the council as well. Sorry, all of us.
All right. So here we have 25. I could say we could take 25 to 29 as a package. And I'll read them.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Also, 25 is that for Councilor Maldonado Velez, that and these are all his from 25 to 29. Order that we degender the language in Rule 2. Then 26 is for Rule 4. Then 27 is for Rule 37. 28 is for Rule 62. And then 29 is order that the City Council rules be reviewed, reorganized, and that its titles be added for accessibility. I'd say all those are going to Charter and Rules. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 30, also from Councilor Maldonado Velez, is order that we include closed caption on Zoom and other virtual spaces. I think we'd have to send that to Holyoke Media to see if that's something they can.
I make a motion to receive it, adopt it, refer it to Holyoke Media, and maybe a copy to our administrative assistant as well.
All right, so motion is receive, adopt, send to Holyoke Media with a copy to Jeffrey. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 31, from Councilor Maldonado Velez, order that we ban single-use plastic bags, straws, and other food containers. That would go to ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? 32, order that we look into creating an ordinance around trash pickup that is similar to when it snows, where residents, business owners, and cities are responsible for trash on their property. To ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 33, or that we create a advisory board to advise the council on the impact of technology, innovation, and financial services, human services, infrastructure. The board would give recommendations on policy changes in order to bring our systems up to date. I'd say that would be received or sent to the mayor because he's dealing with contracting for Wally.
Yeah.
Because we don't enter into contracts, but go ahead, Councilor.
Well, the idea behind this was to possibly create a 8th committee within our body that really talks about the technology. So is that going towards charter and rules?
So that'd be Charter and Rules then. If you want to set up, okay, so Charter and Rules. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? $34 is that we go ahead. Yeah.
For 34, I'm wondering, there is some other material that I did not communicate, so I'm wondering if we can table it so that I can send that communication through, and then we can decide on the next meeting where we want this food economy coalition to go to.
Well, I mean, I know you want more information to be provided. I mean, you could send it to a committee and then provide the information at that committee.
Yep.
Okay.
So if you want to do a food coalition, as your order is saying, you and Councilor Anderson Burgos, you could send it to public safety or public service, and then provide the information there. Would that be sufficient?
Yeah, that would work. I just want to make sure that, that's fine. That works.
Okay. Someone had their hand up. Councilor Rivera, do you have your hand up?
Yeah, I was gonna say if you could get if it would be referred to public safety, but if you say public service, can it be a copy sent to public safety too as well, so that we know what's happening?
So to public service with a copy to public safety. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 35 and 36 take up as a package. Suspend the rules.
If I could actually make a motion to take 35, 36, 37, 39, 40, and 41 as a package.
Second.
And we
taking 35, 36, 37, 39, 40, and 41.
Correct.
As a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 35 is from myself that we invite in the chief of police to finance to discuss staffing issues and the budgetary concerns about it. Also for finance on 36, that legal department, chief of police, auditor, and mayor come before the finance committee to address the 4th captain position. And 37 is a transfer of $185,500 to various areas. 39 is from Councilor McGivern, and that would be taking from a few different line items: attendance patrol and E911 dispatch, total of $205,000 to pay for reserves and overtime. 40 is the Shannon grant for $556,355.26, and 41 is an order that we accept an in-kind contribution to veteran services for games, puzzles, etc. for $2,821.50. All those to finance. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? So then we'll go back to
38.
38, which a motion would be to receive, adopt, pass the first reading, which is to take $16,902.10 from Lieutenant Sergeant Patrol to injured on duty. Councilor McGivern.
Thanks, President. I asked that we would pass the first reading and adopt this evening.
Second.
This is a procedure that I think we've been doing every week for some time now. It's more about accounting. Each of these public safety employees have a filed injured on duty claim. Some are very short, may have happened over the weekend and it's resolved by Monday. Others are long-term. I believe your numbers are in front of you. The police department, I think this is all police department, there are 5.
Yeah, they did not attach it again. This is the second time.
Okay, I'm sorry. I read it and I don't know what I did with it. But it's listed. There's only 2 that look like they're somewhat long-term. But the long-terms are vetted out by a private company and worked on by the department head to make sure that they're legit. So just for the purpose of accounting purposes, I ask that we pass the transfer this evening.
All right, motion is to pass the first reading. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Motion to pass the second reading.
Motion is to pass the second reading. The clerk will call the roll. If you vote yes, you're voting for the transfer.
Puello,
Yes.
Israel Rivera,
Yes.
Jenny Rivera,
Yes.
Tolman,
Yes.
Bacon,
Yes.
Bartley,
Yes.
Givner,
Yes.
Jordan,
Yes.
Maldonado Velez,
Yes.
McGee,
Yes.
McGivern,
Yes.
Murphy Ramboletti.
Yes.
Unanimous vote.
With your vote, you approve that transfer. Off to 42, which is from Councilor Murphy Ramboletti and Anderson Burgos. Order that the City Council amend Holyoke Ordinance Section 710.53A, and then it gives the language that it's looking to delete. So
Ordinance.
to ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? 43, from Councilor Murphy Ramboletti and Councilor Anderson Burgos, order that the City Council amend Holyoke Ordinance to correct the site plan review process, Section 710.65B to ordinance.
Ordinance.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 44 from Councilor Murphy Ramboletti, order that the City Council consider and request that the mayor direct appropriate city staff and to study options for amending existing zoning regulations for cannabis businesses. So that would be to ordinance.
I'd say receive, adopt, and send to the mayor. It's a request
All right.
to the mayor.
All right, so motion receive, adopt, and send to the mayor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
To mayor. All right. .45 from Councilor Murphy Ramboletti and Councilor Rivera, order that the City of Holyoke equally and equitably investigate the air quality concerns related to the commercial use in and around the IG zone, regardless of whether it's commercial use for cannabis business or non-cannabis business.
Refer to public safety.
Receive, adopt, and send to public safety. Oh no.
Well,
so
we wouldn't adopt.
No. Receive, send to public safety with a copy. I was going to say copy to Board of Health.
I was going to say Board of Health, yeah. Because they're the ones that are going to actually do it, I would assume, right? Investigate it, yeah.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? 46, order that, from Councilor Murphy Ramboletti, order that the City Council adopt a rule to establish a 2-year legislative term. An order pending in committee or not acted on at the end of the legislature must be refiled at the start of subsequent.
Charter and rules.
So that would be charter and rules.
Mr. President?
Yeah.
If it's okay with the maker, if I be added as a co-sponsor of this very good order?
Adding Councilor Jordan.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? 47 from Councilor Murphy Ramboletti, order that the City Council amend to clarify enforcement of Rule 61 so that a committee must act on an order within 30 days when referred. So charter and rules. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 48 from Councilor Murphy Ramboletti, or that the Holyoke City Council, in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30B, and the Holyoke procurement ordinances, vote that the City of Holyoke accept the proposal and sale of 299-307 Walnut Street for $10,000.
Can we take 48, 49, and 50 as a package?
Yeah. Motion,
Refer to DGR.
motion is to take up 48, 49, and 50 as a package. Suspend the rules. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? So I read 48, 49, similar order for 394 High Street, and 50 is for 400 High Street, all three to DGNR. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Yes, DGNR. All right, 51 from Councilor Puello. That the law department give an opinion regarding who is at fault if a property owner clears property, moves snow from their area, and within allotted 24 hours, and the DPW plow or similar city contractor vehicle plows snow back onto the property owner, areas responsible before and after the allocated time or allotted time. So that would be receive,
Adopt, and send to legal?
Yep.
receive, adopt, send to legal.
And have them get back to us in 30 days.
You want 30 days on that?
It's a friendly amendment.
Before the winter's over.
Well, when it's just.
All right, motion is receive, adopt, send to legal with a request for info in 30 days. All those in favor?
The only thing I'll say is, if you actually have this happen, the DPW has gone back and actually taken care of the sidewalk.
Oh.
So if you ever get a situation like someone says, you know, I had a guy on corner of Homestead and Cherry, and he went up there, shoveled it beautiful. Guy's 70-something years old, right? So proud of himself. Down comes the plow, right? Kabam. They went back and did it with, you know, with the thing that they have. You know, you can't expect these guys to keep, you know, doing that. So I would call the DPW, just FYI on that, if you get a constituent that has that problem. Yeah, thank you.
All right, so that one was 30 days. So 52 from Councilor Puello, the DPW superintendent work with the fire department alarm division and explore the cost of installing a blinking flashing light.
Mr. President, can we
take up?
I mean, 75 is pretty much the same thing, right? But why don't we just spend
75 was also?
52 and 75 together?
All right, so hold on, let me get 52. $75. Motion to suspend the rules, take up 52 and 75 as a package. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 75 is from Councilor Givner, that the city install storm warning lights, much like those in neighborhood communities. So both of these would be receive, send to public safety with a request to DPW and the fire alarm division.
Mr. President?
Yeah, Councilor.
Just a very friendly amendment that, first of all, these are great orders. Both of them are terrific, and I fully support them. But I would just say, I think it should go to public safety for sure, but I think you should send it to the gas and electric, because more than likely they're the ones that are going to figure out how to do this. So maybe if you send it to the gas and electric and have them come in for a future public safety hearing, you might get somewhere.
All right, so motion is to send both 52 and 75 to public safety, sending a request to DPW, fire department, alarm division, and HG&E. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 53, that the DPW install appropriate signage, the intersection of Chestnut and Franklin Street into the three-way stop.
Receive and adopt.
Well, is it already a three-way stop?
Yeah, that's what my,
if it's
already
not,
a
that has
three-way
to
stop,
be
or
an
it
ordinance.
needs to be a three-way stop?
And
No, Mr. President, there's not a three-way stop, so.
Ordinance.
Yeah, the
So
purpose-
that has to go to ordinance.
ordinance.
Yeah, okay, ordinance.
If it was already there and the sign is gone, it's just
Yeah.
receive, adopt, and replace it. But if it's going to be something new that they install, we have to go through ordinance.
Copy, thank you.
So 53 to ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 54 is that the DPW install another do not enter sign at the intersection of Springfield Ave and Main Street. Drivers are entering Springdale Ave and Main Street against the one-way. So
Receive, adopt, refer to DPW.
Yep. Receive, adopt.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Okay, I just want to make a friendly amendment because this is another terrific order. I just want to add Glen Street onto that as well, if I may.
Saved you some ink.
Hold on.
I should have filed this about 8 years ago.
That works.
Well, you want that Rookie of the Year award? You guys better shape up.
I'm telling you, man.
All right, so an amendment after the first sentence, Main Street, adding and Glen Street.
Yeah, Glen Street where Glen Street at Northampton Street.
All right, so and Glen Street. All on the amendment. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
So here would be
just add my name to it, please.
Here would be receive and adopt and send to DPW. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
55. From Councilor Rivera, the City Council invited the Department of Public Works as well as Park and Rec to meet with the Public Safety Committee to address graffiti in the skate park. So this is to Public Safety?
Yes.
Yeah.
All those in favor?
I mean, that's what I assume.
Yep, Public Safety, that's fine.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? 56, the City Council invited Department of Public Works as well as Park and Rec to Public Safety to address the upkeeping and improvement of Laurel Street Park. So that would be also the Public Safety.
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 57, from Councilor Rivera also, that the City Council invited the Mayor, Community Development, Park and Rec, as well as Public Health to a Public Safety meeting to discuss the development of a form of community coalition around addressing homelessness, substance abuse in youth programs. So that would be to Public Safety as well. All those in favor?
Yeah, Mr. President?
Yeah.
Yeah, can we make a friendly amendment to that? Because, Pete, what's the organization we have on Ray Street with HPD?
Oh, yeah, it's, I can't think of the name of it there.
But they ought to be invited to this too, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah, definitely on Race in Appleton.
Is it Detective Matreo? No, it's there's a detective that's in charge of that on Ray Street.
Yeah, there's a woman that's down there, I know that. One of the police officers.
Well, I think we ought to, if the makers of mine, I just had a friendly amendment to add HPD because they really are dealing with this all the time on Ray Street.
Okay.
With the organization we have there, so I would just make a friendly amendment to add the HPD to this.
All right, so
if I may,
yeah, go ahead,
Mr. President. So the idea behind it is to be able to get some of the departments together. I mean, HPD is welcome to come in, but to have some of the departments to come together to develop a larger cohort of service providers within the community that can, at a dime's notice, try to provide resources to homeless, anybody facing homelessness, substance abuse, and try to find a space of prevention or places of prevention for kids within the community overall. So, I mean, if we add HPD, that's totally fine. But it's going to be the intention behind it is to kind of create a larger movement, which will incorporate police and everyone else within the community overall. Anyway.
All right, so let's see. Mayor, Community Development, Park and Recreation, HPD, comma HPD.
Yeah, you got all the good writings here. On the motion.
Let me just do the amendment real quick here so I got it in here. So adding HPD, all those in favor?
Aye.
Oh, Councilor Bacon.
I just wanted to mention, and I'm struggling for his name. I'm having a name loss, but there's that big coalition in South Holyoke through the sheriff's office.
Oh, Eddie Case.
Safe Neighborhood.
Yes, Mr. Casey. I was looking for his email, but there's a huge coalition there.
So I work in collaboration with them too as well.
So you want them there, right?
Everyone.
Okay, I just wasn't sure.
Yeah.
If they were included in your list. Okay.
All right, so with that.
Mr. President?
Yep.
If the makers of mine, if I could add my name to that order, please.
Adding Counselor Tallman. All right, so this is to public safety. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? On to 58 from Counselor Vacant, that the city department ensure compliance with the ordinance to clear snow from the sidewalks within 24 hours of city-owned properties. This is to, what would you like to do with this?
I'd like to receive and adopt and send to DPW. I think it's, and I really wrote it because I get calls from constituents who walk out throughout the ward. And if we're going to be adding fines for the residences, I don't know how we're going to address that for the city departments, but it seems like fair is fair.
All right, motion is receive, adopt, send to DPW.
Mr. President.
Yep, Counselor.
Yeah, if I could be added on to that order, I did receive a call from somebody from Ward 5 and chatted with them for about probably 10, 15 minutes about this issue. And I did follow up the next day. I contacted DPW. They said that they were out. They actually treated the sidewalks up in that area, Westfield Road, down by Kane Road, and over by Homestead by the school. I guess the school was doing part of it by Kane Road, but nobody was doing the part on Homestead. So people trying to walk, I guess, had difficulty. But apparently they, and up by the field too, Dave, Mayor Field, I guess that wasn't done.
Yes.
So they had treated it, and apparently, I think within a day or two, the way it was a weekend, the snow was there, then it got cold. So hopefully, you know, the city can have some type of, the DPW can have some kind of a lineup when this happens to really get mobilization out there for these to get taken care of, because people are ending up, you know, sitting out and walking out in the road, you know, which is very unsafe.
So I'm not sure it's fair to send it only to DPW. I think we should probably send it to DPW, the schools, and the park department.
Parks, yeah.
Because it's my understanding that there may be a division of labor issue, in that the school's responsible for the front of the school, maybe Parks and Rec is responsible for the field, and then somebody else is responsible for another part. So it might be a fairer thing to send it to DPW, Parks, and the schools.
Not my job.
You know, just because, and I think we were talking to the same constituent. So if we're giving the residents 24 hours from a Thursday storm, you know, I do know the matter was resolved the next Tuesday, but, you know, just to be fair.
Okay, so a motion is receive, adopt, send to DPW, parks, and schools. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed? 59 from Councilor Vacant, that the city engineer recommend safety improvements for Westfield Road at the curve near 292.
I'd like it,
202.
202.
no, near house number.
Okay.
So this is the second time I've filed this, and our engineer has been out there, in fairness to him. However, I was hoping the new elevated speed humps would help that area. Shortly after those were built, a car went over 2 yards, took out their mailbox, and took off. So there needs to be something done there, because the line goes like straight off the road if somebody drives following the white line. There's just still issues there, so I'm just refiling it. With all the changes that have been going on, it's hard to.
So where would you like this? You want to go to the
I'd
city
like it to
engineer,
go over to DPW and our engineer. And I guess I'd like it to go to ordinance in case whatever is needed requires that.
Okay.
If it doesn't, good.
All right, so send this to ordinance with a copy to DPW city engineer. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 60, that the current buffer for marijuana ordinance 200 feet from the usage, and this would go to ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 61. Amend the city council rules, adding legal form for ordinances shall be provided within 48 hours. So that'd be charter and rules.
Charter and rules, yep.
All those
Thank you.
in favor? All opposed? 62 from Councilor Anderson Burgos, order that the crosswalk be placed where Portland Street meets Beach Street. So this would have to have to have an ordinance to it. So 2 ordinance for 62. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 63. Whereas Suez and the Hoyoke Housing Authority meet with the Public Safety Committee to discuss how to fix the flood issues from Bowden Village. So this would be...
We suspend the rules, take 63, 64, 65, 66, 67. I think that's it. So ship them all off to Public Safety, copy to Public Works.
All right, so suspend the rules, take up 63 to 67. Of which I read 63, 64 is order that, so suspend the rules, take them as a package first. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 64. Or that the DPW Park and Rec look into making Rowan Park a kid and dog park. 65. Or that DPW change the size of the no turn on red sign located on the corner of Hillside Ave and Cherry Street. 66. Order that the cross street does not stop sign be placed on the stop sign near where Locust meets Hampshire. And then 67, order that the sidewalk in front of 211 West Franklin Street be repaired. All these to Public Safety with a copy to DPW. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 68, or that pursuant to the authority granted them under Section 3 of Chapter 556 of the Acts of 1949, the City Council declares the duties and qualifications of the General Superintendent of the Department of Public Works under, and then there's more. Refer this to ordinance.
Mr. President, I have a point of order on this.
Sure.
The order doesn't ask for anything. So what is it that the maker of the order wants the ordinance committee to consider?
I guess we'll have to ask him when he comes back in. So
Right, but
well, we can refer to ordinance. Once again, I'm just going to say it might have been a Scrivener's error. I'm sorry. But maybe something was missed in the email or something, and that can be provided. If
well,
not,
I just wish to be clear that if it is only in this form sitting in the jacket, there's nothing for the committee to act.
No, we'll have the counselor follow up. So this is to ordinance. All those in favor? All those opposed? 69 is from Councilor Bartley that the city amend its ordinance to limit parking during business hours in front of 548 South Street.
Ordinance, please. Copy to City Engineer.
So to ordinance with a copy to the engineer. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 70 from Councilor Bartley that DPW and the mayor consider repairing the sidewalk and the tree belt at 458 South Street. So that'd be a copy to finance for the request from the mayor.
If it makes sense, but send it to finance first.
So to finance, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed. 71 from Councilor Bartley that the city DPW fix the hole in the sidewalk approximately around 366 to 372 High Street. So this would be receive, adopt,
refer.
Send to DPW. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed. 72 from Councilor Bartley that the DPW fully plow sand, salt, Ogden Street. So that'd be receive, adopt, and send to DPW?
Yes, but I want to send a copy to Public Safety to track it. I think most of us that have been on this board for a little bit are aware of this kind of area. It cuts from Ogden all the way back down to Homestead Avenue. It's kind of a tricky little street, and so some might use it as a cut through. But I want to make sure that it's a constituent request, but I want Public Safety to sort of track this. So maybe they can take it up in a month or two, and we'll have the Public Works in. But I want to receive and adopt it. Just a copy of Public Safety for now, please.
All right, motion be receive, adopt with a copy to Public Safety. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 73 from Councilor Givner that the street light be installed by the city of Hoyoke at pole number 10 on Sycamore Street.
Receive, adopt, and refer to HG&E.
So this is receive, adopt, refer to HG&E, but also a copy to the mayor because the mayor has to sign off on new lights being installed. So the motion is receive, adopt, copy to mayor and HG&E. You want a copy to Public Safety?
Also, if I could, Mr. President.
Yep.
The DPW, because the line item to pay for it is in their budget.
And a copy to DPW. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 74, that the city of Hoyoke address poorly and unplowed alleyways. Residents on the block of 192 Walnut Street have been trying to get that plowed. So this would be receive, adopt, send to DPW.
And
Well-
copy to public safety?
Yeah.
Just to track it.
Can I ask a question on this?
Yep.
So alleyways, if not an accepted public way, are not streets that get plowed. And the legal on alleyways as a general rule is at the center line, it's the actual extended property of the two abutters.
The request is because, sorry, Mr. President.
Yep.
The request is because they're instructed to put their trash in the alleyways to be picked up by the DPW.
Interesting.
Yeah,
So
the alleyways have been a tricky one throughout the city. There's some that you are correct. If you and I own the house,
Right.
then we own to the middle, and therefore the city can't do anything.
Right.
However, if it's being used for trash pick or anything else, the DPW has to plow it out in
Yeah.
order to have access to it.
Absolutely. Okay,
So-
that makes a whole. If the DPW is telling you to use that for trash, then yes, they have to make it
Specifically
available.
in some of the neighborhoods, they're expected to put their trash in the back of the homes, and even in some of those areas, there's even dumpsters back there that the some services pick up, but I know that the trash pickup specifically for this street is in the alleyway, so.
But it's public pickup.
It's a public pickup, yes.
Okay.
And that group of people has been paying someone to plow, so they reached out.
Because if it's dumpsters, that's a different story. That wouldn't qualify.
Right.
But if it's public pickup, okay.
All right, so receive, adopt, send to DPW, copy to public safety.
Mhm.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, 75, we already did. 76, the City of Hoyoke amend ordinances that provide Columbus Day as a holiday be updated to wording that
Ordinance.
reflects
Ordinance?
that. So that's an ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? 77,
think
from
we-
Councilor Givner.
Motion to withdraw that since we already sent it to ordinance.
Okay,
But
so
that's all
committee.
right, though, because we took it off the table, but we can still send this to ordinance, too.
All right, so 77, that the City Council
It's your choice.
adopt a wage theft ordinance for all contractors. So
It's her order. She can do
want
it.
to just, do you want it withdrawn or you want to send it to ordinance because it's back in ordinance?
So we'd essentially be sending two of the same thing to ordinance.
You
They
would.
both are worded
You're
exactly
right.
the same.
Yeah.
Right.
Then if
Okay,
it's a
great.
duplicate, I think you're right.
So, all right, so 77, give leave to withdraw.
A friendly lead to withdraw.
Right.
Leave to withdraw.
With a smiley face.
That's
Well,
right.
She didn't know we were.
These
gonna do
these
it.
aren't mean things.
All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye.
78, that the city of Hoyoke enforce a no parking zone and implement warnings and small fines for vehicles in violation.
Ordinance.
So that would go to ordinance. All those in favor?
All right.
All opposed? 79, City of Hoyoke adopt a camera speed violation system in order to be deterred speeding throughout streets, especially Beach, Hamden, Dwight, Maple, and High Street. And this has that ticketing system. We've seen this one before. So this one to go to ordinance.
Yeah, send it to ACLU too. I'm sure they'll love this.
Oh.
So this to ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All
Aye.
opposed? We do have
Motion
a few.
adjourned.
We still have only
Second.
three. Only three. Only three. So I only have three from the clerk. So A, late file. A is the guidance for municipalities, Campus Control Commission. So communications.
Receive copied ordinance.
For
So
ordinance.
receive, copy to ordinance. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? B is from Councilor Givner. That the City of Hoyoke establish, make public a reporting system for immediate safety issues such as a lack of stop signs or traffic signage at the corner of Sycamore and Hampshire Street. So that would go to public safety.
Is there a way to do something more quickly about that? There's no traffic signs at that corner.
There's no signs at all. It's just,
There's no stop signs in either direction.
and there should be.
There should be somewhere. I mean, there's no lights. There's no stop signs.
All right.
We
So
should
how about we?
go to ordinance then,
Okay.
if you're looking for stop signs.
Yeah, if you're
right?
looking, so I guess my question is, are there supposed to be stop signs right there now and they've just been knocked down and gone, or
Yeah, I mean,
you're looking to have them
there's a
installed?
through street. There should be a stop sign if there's through streets somewhere.
It might not have stop signs
That's
there.
ordinance.
I don't
So
know.
what we'll do is we'll send it to ordinance.
No idea.
Just to confirm if we have to approve an ordinance to put stop signs in. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those? In the
Mr.
last
President?
yeah.
Mr. President?
Yeah.
Before we get into the late file, I just want to double check. Did we cover item 3 on the agenda? I know we took something earlier out of order. I just want to make sure that we just don't have notes on it. Maybe I missed it, so I just want to.
It stayed tabled.
It stayed tabled.
Stayed tabled.
All right, so last one was a communication from Anthony Soto, superintendent, which was
That's a
memo in
follow-up.
response, and I think this is what
Receive
Councilor.
copy of the joint committee, please.
Yep. So motion is to receive to joint committee.
Well, just real quick.
Yeah.
On that one, this is a follow-up. I don't think we really need to do anything. I don't even think it needs to go to joint committee. We should just receive it. I had a meeting, basically very briefly, with Anthony Soto. Very nice meeting. Covered a lot of ground in that meeting, but the main purpose of the meeting was to discuss the financial literacy program. And what he informed me very pleasantly was that they actually already have been doing this, and that this memo, that they started a class and a whole program and curriculum 3 years ago, and he went through all the details with me. So there's a lot of good information in there. So I thank him for doing that, and I appreciate their hard work in this area. And there was over 100 kids already in it, so
All right,
it was
so,
great.
So late file C is just to receive it.
Yep.
All those in favor?
President.
Aye.
All those, hold on.
Todd?
There's
Todd?
Yep, Brenna.
I just want to let you know, I don't think it's printed. It doesn't sound like it. I just spoke with Jeffrey, and we have a grant that Tanya put in as a late file as well. It's a grant for bulletproof vests for the police department.
All right, so there is a D. And that is
Okay.
the bulletproof vest partnership, $42,000 with a match of $21,000. So that would go
Finance?
Receive, refer to finance.
to finance on D. All those in favor?
Thank you. Sorry, it wasn't printed.
All opposed? No, no worries.
Anything
All right.
else?
That is it, unless I'm told again otherwise. No.
Okay,
All
motion
right,
to adjourn.
Motion is to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We stand adjourned.